Supply chain attacks are a really serious concern, whether or not it's in hardware or through digital supply chain. We see that attackers consistently don't go directly after their targets. They often work through the third-party trusted business relationships that companies rely on so much. So it's certainly something that needs to be taken extremely seriously, despite the denials or despite lack of evidence to what the damage is here. This is something that needs to be addressed, and there's a greater role here, I think, for government and driving accountability and how we're going to respond going forward.
John, how capable are China when it comes to technology and the US versus China on that front, whether it's hacking or legitimate activities, when we compare them to the likes of Russia and North Korea? And do you think that they're stepping up their game at the moment, or these sorts of games have been going on just unnoticed for quite some time?
They are certainly stepping up their game. We started seeing them really with very simplistic spear phishing attacks and going after very, very specific individuals. But every one of these actors is attempting to make the evolutionary jump up the supply chain and further up the chain where they can control more. The only problem is, as they scale up, the risk of exposure becomes greater. So it's much harder to hide an operation of that nature. Recently, we've seen. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Recently, we've seen China carry out attacks on cloud providers, for instance, that allowed them to not just target one organization, but rather all the organizations that cloud providers served.
And Oren, John brings up an interesting point about being able to detect some of these, and this report suggests that this could have been as small as perhaps a grain of rice. I mean, I'm just stuck on the fact that the companies are basically saying, no, this isn't true. Did this happen or did this not happen? And if it's there, could they know for sure that they found it or not?
Well, it could certainly be challenging to know that, but I think it's important to take a step back. The challenge that we're facing here in cybersecurity is not really about China or Russia. It's a much broader problem. Today is another example that we're not having any success industry-wide. We've spent billions of dollars trying to secure our digital assets. And we're not seeing that companies are able to be accountable either in their responsibilities to protect data or to stop these attacks outright. You can describe attacks as simplistic or not, but the reality is that if they're effective, that's really what the attackers are going after. And it's just far too easy today to cause challenges either through the hardware supply chain, the software supply chain. We know that attackers love to use phishing campaigns, and really the focus should be on what we're going to do to reverse the trend here and drive more accountability from all the different players. And increasingly, I think that means that we have to take a step back and we have to work more holistically and really think about the success that we can have here. Humans, as a species, have accomplished so many amazing things, from flight to the automobile to open heart surgery, sending a man to the moon. There's no reason that we can't be successful here, but we haven't found where we're going to place that level of accountability and go right at it.
John, to what extent do the companies themselves have to take some responsibility and blame here? I'm not talking about the reports of today's latest attack, but if you think about the last decade or so, have they been too keen to expand their profits by going into regions like China and Russia and too open to being hacked and having their secrets, their innovations stolen from them?
Well, it's important to remember that these private companies are competing with professional intelligence services that have tremendous resources. Just today, they indicted Russian intelligence officers who supported hacking efforts, who are physically showing up at places to help these hacking efforts. So these are very well-resourced organizations, and private companies are going to need help. They're going to need to work together. They're going to need the help of governments, and they're going to need the help of cybersecurity companies.